And then we'll move on. Presentation of liability insurance bid. That would be you.
All right.
You're on.
Appreciate the opportunity to present to you again this year, and appreciate your business you've had with us through the years. Before I open it up and kind of go through my information, I kind of open it up to you. Do you have questions of me or concerns for Jeff and I with regard to anything with insurance?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can go first.
Go ahead.
Oh,
You get the hand up first.
mine is just general, and and I know I'm not the only one. It's a frustration with this board that our policy ends December the 1st, and we had asked for over a month for other bids. And anyway, we didn't get any other bids, and so I guess my question is, how many years have you been our provider?
10 years.
And okay,
Excuse me, it'll be 9 at the end of this policy term. If we can earn, it'll be 10. So it's been 9.
and is there a way that we can do better as a board, because we're protecting everybody's tax dollars, we want the best deal, to get you in here? We don't have to have an emergency meeting to renew our insurance policy. We have to have an emergency meeting today because I guess you weren't told, or you didn't tell us, or I don't know.
I was made aware that the meeting is today, and so I'll defer to. We're here today to present that.
Right. So I guess in the future we need to instruct our office manager to actually reach out to whoever the provider is and say, hey, the policy ends on the 1st. The board has to approve it. Would you say that?
Yeah, the office manager did reach out to me, and we had dialogue. It was a lack of communication, probably on my part, or misunderstanding, because we talked so very honestly.
Okay.
Because I'll be honest with you, I called the day of the meeting just to status things, and I was asked, are you prepared to present tonight? And I said, very honestly, no, I'm not.
I see.
So it wasn't lack of communication to me, because I knew it was coming up for renewal, and so I was asked,
Right.
We
had heard it was December, so we kind of we thought that we had December the 12th, our next meeting or whatever. So because I've reached out to some agents, and they're like, well, I need more time. I can put something together. And so I'm just trying to grasp, is it on purpose every year? Or are we doing it like, how can we change this so we know that we're getting the best deal for the taxpayers? That's it.
Last January, we decided to go to 1 meeting a month. Normally, we would have had another meeting at the end of this month.
That's true too.
So that is not, it's not the office manager's fault, it's not the supervisor's fault. I think this is one of the few problems we found that discovered with us going to 1 meeting a month. So next year, we just have to approve it in November. Lesson learned.
Okay.
So that's what happened.
Okay, I have a question for you guys. Last year, towards the end of the year, we had a senior citizen fall outside the back door and stuff like that. She got a broken shoulder, collarbone, I don't know, something like that. And anyway, to make a long story short, she's not being compensated. And the adjuster who came out, whoever that was, and we were under construction here and that, got a big dumpster out back and that's where he took the pictures at. That's not where she fell. She fell outside that back door by the dumpster and trash can out there. And now, because there's a step off that, now that step is painted. Why is she not being paid her money back? It's like $2,000 she's out of pocket.
I'll be honest with you, Mike. I'm vaguely aware of the claim. I am not the adjuster.
No, I understand that, Kyle.
But and just being honest with you, because I thought about this, because I was aware that this was a point of potential concern, and respect that, and I do. Is with respect to a claim, this falls under general liability, so it's bodily injury to a third party, meaning a person coming on the site. Is you do have coverage for that, but the point is they look at all the scenarios with the claim. A claim's turned in, and they evaluate, they adjust the claim, they look at the claim, and they determine if the township is liable based on the parameters of the claim. okay? And so they evaluate those and ask questions, take pictures and that, and they determine if, on behalf, and they're representing the township, do they accept the claim, okay, or they deny the claim. And that's not saying, hey, they're still representing the township, but very honestly, they will pay a claim if they deem, based on the adjustment, i.e. the investigation, evaluation of the claim, they will pay the claim. And then if they look at it and do not deem the township as liable, they're still working on behalf, but then they deny the claim. And do I think, I like it we're in informal, I'll be honest with you, I very much like we're not in a formal setting with all the people here and all that, so I feel like we can talk, okay, a little bit more candid. The market I have you with is recognized in this statement as the best, okay, for what you do. I would not place you with a market that I had questions or a suspect, because, I mean, I'm standing up here last year and my name's on my sign. The company I have you with is excellent. They're not, and they're adhering to the policy. You have a policy, and they're evaluating the policy, the legalities of that, and what's covered, as well as the scenario with the claim, and then making that decision, the adjustment side of their business, the claim side. And then they're not trying to not help you or not help that individual. They're making a business decision based on the insurance. And in this case, they determined that they're denying the claim, i.e. not paying benefits. If the individual were to pursue the township outside of this, then they're still representing you as part of that claim. But I gather you were sitting here as a board and you have a member of the public stand up and present that to you, and it's a tough spot for you to be in, respectfully, because you guys you're like,
Kind of, sort of.
you know, and I get that. I mean, I get that. And you're kind of like, you know, so again, I'm aware of the concern with it that you had, and respect that.
Just to clear, so if that person decided to pursue it further, like you said, if that were to happen, you guys represented us, that the insurance company would represent us
That's
as
correct.
part of our policy.
correct.
And let's say if that person won,
Right.
then the insurance would kick in. It wouldn't come out of the taxpayer's dollar?
No.
It would be, you have a deductible. Keep in mind,
And
you have
yeah.
you have a $2,500 deductible on
But-
general liability.
Right.
But we sent, basically, you know, there is a law in Illinois called tort liability. And the tort liability specifically for governmental bodies to protect you folks. Because if you didn't have tort liability, you folks would be open to a lot more lawsuits than what you are. Not only the township, but cities. You couldn't do business.
Right.
So just because someone falls or something happens at one of your facilities does not make the township liable.
Right, I think
And
we
that
need
is
to
our
say it's,
job.
toward immunity, not toward liability.
I'm talking insurance, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But tort immunity, I mean, so that's what we use when we look at that type of a claim. And I don't know, you know, won't get all the specifics, but basically it was determined that you folks were not liable for her falling down.
But to make things clear, we're still covered,
Yeah.
we're everything. If that person decides to go forward, they need to work with the insurance company, not this board.
Correct.
Yeah.
You guys should be, any type of those claims, you should be referring them to us and letting us know.
And that's what we did.
Yeah, that's basically, yeah, because we have that, you're deferring to the adjuster. How you absorb that if presented to you, especially in a formal setting, is ultimately compassion, but neutral, and it's not your responsibility. You are deferring that to the adjuster, and, you know, they have the full legal side of that. They're not looking to not pay a claim, honestly. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm stepping out of turn, I'm just using general liability as an example. You know, this happens all the time, because general liability is bodily injury and property damage to a third party, okay? So what happens is we see it a lot. All of a sudden, somebody's in an institution somewhere, and they slip and fall. Why did they slip and fall? Was there something that the insured did, the building owner, that water on the floor, left something out, something that caused that person to slip and fall? If they just happen to slip and fall, or allege that they slip and fall, because we see that sometimes and it doesn't happen, and allege they sustained bodily injury, and they evaluate it, adjust the claim, and they say, well, our client is not at fault, okay? So they're going to deny the claim to that third party, okay? Because nothing caused it, they were not part of that, it caused that claim. We get water on the floor, for example. If there was water on the floor, and there was a leaking pipe, then they probably, I'm just shooting from the hip from the comment, they probably accept that claim. So you look at those variables, Mike, But again, the adjuster is the one handling that. It's a tough spot to be in sitting here when an individual stands up and presents that to you, and I respect that.
Okay.
I got a couple questions. Are you two together?
Yeah.
Are you with?
I represent the ICMP program.
Okay.
So that's the insurer, and I'm the local agent.
Right, you're writing it, and you're the.
Correct.
Yeah. The way I understand it is, you're one of the few people that will write townships in this state, right? I mean, you provide,
Correct.
pretty much people either have Torma or you guys. I mean, there's not
a lot of other options,
Not other
correct.
options, right. Because I did a little research, and
Mhm.
I learned from a couple other townships that one used Torma, one wrote a policy through you guys. So that's what I'm just asking. This policy is written, it's just a 2.79 increase, which I don't like to even see any increase, but is the coverage the same? Is there some things added? I saw some cyber.
Yeah, my intention is to go through
Yeah,
this
you
with
can
you
go through
and
it.
Okay.
address everything. I just kind of wanted to, I knew there was some concern, and that's why I just opened the meeting to throw
I
it out there.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so we could talk about it.
Talk to the details in a second.
You got it.
You touched on one thing, and it would help me moving forward too. You said that most everybody in townships use you or Torma. My question is, because I just want more bids. So, well, because, so.
It's tough.
Well, but here's my question, but why? And so I can understand it, because the agents that I talked to said that they can put things together, but they couldn't do like the fire, I think there was something about firearms or something. There are certain things that not all agents can do.
So if I can address that.
And just, so like, say if we broke it out on just all of our vehicles, why couldn't one agent have all of our vehicles and one agent have building or whatever? So if you can.
Yeah, I can, so just to let you know, I've been doing this for over 20 years. So
Okay.
so I'm in a lot of these type of meetings and I see a lot of bids. So, but that's the reason, because you folks are a public entity. You have public officials, errors and omissions that you do. You have a senior center. You have towns. You have roads and things. So there's some things that a lot of people don't want. So they just want a piece of it. And when you go to other agents, if you go to your State Farm agent, if you go to other agents, they'll say, well, yeah, I can do the property. Well, the property is the most profitable item, right? The autos, you're not having your losses aren't in the autos. They'll say, I can do everything but the work comp in the public officials. Well, anybody can do that, whereas we're doing the whole thing. And since we're doing the whole thing, and since we're taking the higher risk items, which is the public officials and workers'
Usually
compensation,
better price.
we need the whole thing to kind of balance everything. The same thing with Torma. They write all lines, and that's what makes us unique, and that's why Torma and ICRMP are around. I'm not saying there isn't a couple of people out there that do it differently, but that's our program. We want, because when you start splitting it out, you start having gaps in coverage.
So I guess my question is though, and this is not speculation, this is just for
Sure.
me to understand.
Mhm.
Moving forward though, could you write this policy without the auto?
We would not do that, no.
So you would be out on that
We would be
because
out.
that's the most profitable part?
No, well, because we're not going to put ourselves, our agent, and you folks into a position where the auto is out there with another carrier and that could create gaps like that. We need all lines because we
I
want
just
all
don't
lines.
understand the gaps with
Oh,
if it's
it-
auto.
Finger pointing.
Finger pointing, it could be like,
You get a claim.
so this wouldn't happen. Let's say Torma has the autos and we have everything else. Next thing we say, oh no, that's auto. And Torma says, oh no, it doesn't. Next thing you know, we're fighting between who's gonna cover the claim or not.
I don't want to be in the middle of that
Right.
as a local representative.
I'm just trying to think of the scenario, like if something happened, like the situation.
Well, I'm just saying in
That
general, I'm
wouldn't
not
fall under
want to focus
auto.
on one. The other thing too is, so you got someone that's doing the auto. Next thing you know, you start having big auto claims. And next thing you know, they get off of you, right? Because you have auto claims. With us, when you have everything together, even though you're having auto claims, we say, well, the property and everything else is doing well. We'll stay on it, or we can kind of level out the increase because the other side's doing well. Our program is an all lines program. We
That's what
need all
your
lines.
program is, so.
We need all lines.
And then this isn't specifically to you, but are there companies that would just pick up, like, something about the firearms, or what is that, or the elected officials?
I can write it through other companies.
I see, so you could write specific things to
I'm
other.
independent, I'm a broker, I can do basically anything you need. But why don't I go out and do that? I'll be honest with you, it's because they offer the most comprehensive program at the best price for you. I do not want, in 2010, I was given the opportunity to bid this in 2009.
Mhm.
Stood in front of the board, presented the bid, and did not earn it. And I was respectfully appreciative and said, can I come back next year? Came back the next year and I earned it. When I was given the initial opportunity, I do not want to place your insurance with the low-cost provider. They have to keep their pencils sharp, but my huge concern for you all is liability, the scope of liability, coverages you need specific to your entity. You've only got a few players in that. I called them specifically.
Because they do it all.
Yeah, and I did my own research and I'm finding out what market, term for insure, can I use to go through. This is a specialty deal. I have a bunch of companies I go through for standard type business.
Right.
This is unique. Can I go to that standard company, I got one right now, and write your property through that? Yeah. Can I go to another maybe and write the autos through that?
And I guess my question is like, it would be helpful to see down the road, next year, whatever, if we were to go split it out, well, it actually doesn't save us money. That's all. That's all I'm trying, because when somebody from the public sees like, you guys never get any other bids. And just like the situation, that's hard on me to explain, and I need to explain to them why, because right now I haven't been able to explain why. And now I have a better understanding of why. And I guess my only question moving forward would be, if you split it out, in fact, would it possibly save some dollars?
It would probably be that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
When you split it out, it would probably cost you more and you would get less.
No, and that's what I was asking, and I've never seen that, and that's why I was just curious.
But if you came to me honestly and said, could you do this through another company, I would probably defer it and say, I don't want to write the business. And I'm not trying to sound abrasive by that. I don't want to put your business through a market or an insurer that doesn't offer the coverages that you all need. I am not willing to put myself, my credibility through that. I want to put you with the carrier that best represents what you need at a competitive price, okay? So,
well, we all want that.
I mean, honestly, Barry, I would not, I thought about this, and this is a discussion, that's why I opened it up with this, and I wanted to talk about this. I mean, it's my rear on the line, that locally, that if somebody says something, it is. And the perception of me personally and my agency.
I get that.
I can't afford that. And I get a call from Larry and their truck just ran into a minivan and killed 3 kids. I don't want to be going, I want to be, that's terrible. Boom.
Same thing with us. I mean, we want the same damn thing.
Exactly.
And I understand where you're coming from also about that, but, I mean.
No, we have a responsibility to taxpayers to make sure that, so.
But all you folks can do, the point you can do, what you've done the last 2 years, is go out for bids. And you see, it's nothing against the township, what you guys are doing, it's just, this is a very specialized market that you're in.
The only reason I approached you guys in 2010, because I was able to secure them as a market, I called them up and I said, hey, how do you guys work? And I didn't understand it, because it's a specialty, and I was introduced to Jeff. He said, here's how we operate. I said, do you have township right now? He said, no. I said, do you have your internal agents or do you use local agents? And they said, no, we use local agents because they have the local relationship. So we service everything. I'm in township all the time with my staff, Mary. So we have that local presence, but then I have a market that offers everything that you need in one-stop shop. That's your best option, I know. And Torm is an option for you. They presented last year.
Right.
I think they were offered an opportunity to bid this year.
Yeah.
Big speak candid. I mean, I was standing outside the door last year, and I heard what their premium was. I'm just being honest.
Well, that wasn't
You
even
didn't have to leave.
legal for you to leave, but anyway, let's move forward.
I'm just being honest with you.
Right.
And we were extremely competitive as compared to.
Well, that's why we went with you.
Yeah, I mean, so I gotta keep my pencil sharp.
Right.
So it's a combination, keeping my pencil sharp and offering you the right market and the right coverages. I don't wanna compromise you. And if you said next year, we'll go through these companies and bid this a la carte on this, I'm like, I'm not gonna do that for you. Now, if their premium went up unreasonably, then I gotta start going out there, but I'm always watching their premium, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, look, man, look at the sheet. I mean,
I just wish I knew, even as just a citizen or whatever, just knew what that price difference would be. That's all I'm trying to. You said it would be more, and here's a scenario.
Definitely not.
Well, I'm talking about if you split them out, but here's a scenario to me that makes sense. When I have my homeowners and a car, and say multiple car, I get a discount. It's kind of the same type of deal. When you have it all together, we get a discount. Is that kind of a good scenario?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. I mean, even, this year, we look at it as a whole, but you have auto premium, you have workers' compensation premium, but if one side's doing well, then you're able to give more credit on the other
So
side.
if you take one off, basically then they all kind of go up, right? So-
They could all go up, correct. And I think John over here said, when he went out there and researched it and found, don't quote me on this number, but I think I'm pretty accurate, probably 90% of all township road districts are either with ourselves or Torma. And so, and there's the reason behind that. But that tells you a lot in terms of, if you could split it out and get a better coverage and more townships would be doing that.
Mhm.
It's just,
Okay.
it's just kind of what's out there.
Young
Hey,
lady?
Tara, I was just gonna say
Thanks,
too that, they offer us, I mean, Vicki and I go to classes every year. We're gonna have a, sexual harassment class every year now. One of their gentlemen have offered to do that for us. I mean, no charge, they don't send us a bill on it. And so, I mean, they offer us a lot of benefits that we've never been offered before through the years, so I appreciate what they do. And-
No, yeah. that's
And
good.
when I go to those meetings, it's all municipalities at them.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah.
just people that have business, it's all cities, villages, townships.
And remind me to go over the harassment, I'm glad you brought that up, when
Yeah.
we start going through the policy, because that's something that you already know about it, but you folks on the board also need to know about this. So,
Also, to address like auto, for example, if you have a car, you've got 11 million in liability on your auto liability. If one of your big trucks, from the street department hits that minivan, you've got $1 million on your auto policy, then you've got a $10 million excess with them. You're not gonna find that. I mean, that is, if you switch carriers and you have a 1 million of coverage and then you have a 2 million umbrella and you have 3 million,
Right.
based on your exposure.
Right.
Yes, and that begs into the last point. I'll be very honest with you. I don't want to come in and present at a meeting, and then all of a sudden, the renewal is 12/1. And I want to be the last presenter, okay? By that I'm talking, and you guys make a business decision. 'Cause if I come down, for example, I lay my premium down, and all of a sudden somebody else comes in with another bid, and you guys call a special meeting, and all of a sudden that bid comes in 5 or 10,000 less. And then I lose it. But the point is that if I lose it and they have comparative coverages, I'm good with that. But a lot of times you're charged with making a business decision based on premium and you don't know the details of the coverage.
No, I definitely want to know all the details, right? And
so
that's why I appreciate you coming in.
If I came in the 12, because we had dialogue, she reached out to me in plenty of time, and I'm like, what's the presentation and all that stuff? Because I don't want to come in and present on the 12th. And then all of a sudden you call a special meeting because somebody else comes in with a bid on the 20th, and then all of a sudden this person's bid is 5,000 lower, but you're not able to filter through it, and then you make a business decision to switch.
I wouldn't do
I do
that.
not want to lose the business.
Right.
But so honestly, it's a
That
little
wouldn't
bit.
be ethical enough, so that wouldn't happen.
So I just being honest with you. So the staff reached out to me in plenty of time. I want to be the last bidder. And I told them, I said, I need this renewal and I need this now. And they do a good job of getting that out to us, but it doesn't come out like 2 months in advance because they look at budgets and all that. So that's why I opened up the meeting, guys, to talk about this, because I just want to throw that out there and address it. These are all the numbers, we'll go through them.
Okay.
I appreciate the help that they're offering. I think we do a good job. I'm deferring to my team on that and what they do. So we want to continue to earn the business, but I do not want to earn the business just based on premium. It's service and then the coverages we're offering. Okay.
Moving on.
I'm
He's
gonna
Yes, something?
go through it. So you guys have a summary of premiums for you in front of you since inception, since we wrote it, it's offered to you, okay? So we have kept our pencil sharp. So I'm just gonna go through this quickly, I'm not gonna, quickly. First page is a summary, okay? And I just hand wrote it on here, and I circled it's the renewal coming up 19 through 20. You can see last year's premium. There's two facets of coverage. The package is everything that's not workers' compensation, all the coverages. And then WC is your work comp. Combination of those two premiums. Last year's premium and this year's premium. So you can see down there it's a $2,630 increase. I will go through the reason why. Up to the right, your package policy, everything but work comp went down by $3,800 over that. But your work comp has gone up over $6,400. It's nothing they did or I did. It's based on your claims frequency and severity on work comp, and I will go through that. Okay, and this allows me to speak honestly more candid than an open forum. Okay.
This is open meetings.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
respectfully.
still being
so-
recorded, but you're good.
Well, I honestly, I just feel more, I'm just having a discussion. you know.
That's what we want, though.
Yeah.
Just be open and honest, right?
All right, next page, Jeff Weber, I'm just letting you know he's the Senior Vice President, but he's done a heck of a job for me in support. If he didn't, I wouldn't use him. Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize, I missed this. About ICRMT. In the nutshell, I underline, we've already talked about it. This market is the best as far as coverages, as well as Kathy's talked about services. The services, the second underlying item, they provide coverages in the most comprehensive service package. The training that they offer, the safety and loss control, the property valuations, the legal side of it that's available to you, legal resources. The other markets don't offer this, okay? So this is, you can't find this anywhere. So,
If I could jump in real quick, just as a reminder, I think we might have talked about it last year, but we are the only program that is offering unemployment insurance as an option. In terms of if you're still paying the state unemployment tax, we come in about 15 to 20% lower than the state tax if you're looking to save some money and to get away from the state when you can. So just keep that.
So if someone gets laid off, you pay their payments?
Yeah, so what happens is, in a nutshell, is nothing changes for the employee. The employee still goes to the unemployment office, and then the state pays the employee, and then the state sends us a bill to reimburse the state.
And are we currently doing that then?
No, you're currently, I'm just letting you know it's an option.
It's an option, but that's not an
We're the only program.
Kind of a
yeah.
reinsurance type deal almost.
It's just another
It's
way.
more for the
You
employees.
just move it to the insurance. I mean, the employees know nothing different. They don't even know that you're not paying. They don't know that it's coming, you guys are doing it through insurance.
So is it,
What is
so
it?
we're not, well, it's not in our bid though, right?
Not in your bid, I'm just throwing it out.
But would it save us money?
It would save you probably 15 to 20% off of what you pay the state.
I'd be curious to know what we pay
Can we add that in January or February?
You have to, so you have to add it before the first of the year.
Okay.
Well, I put it this way, you have to tell the state that you're not going to
So
participate.
we're gonna pay you guys.
In
We're
the
gonna-
state tax plan by the end of the year. I can get something to you, whoever your office manager is, I can get that. But basically, because you gotta let you can't do it in the middle of the year because you're already in the state. So you have to do it before 1/1, you gotta let the state know. And then there's some paperwork we have to do.
I don't know if we would need a board vote, but I would be curious of that to know what we're paying the state now and what you could throw in for us. Any savings, I think, would be better. I mean, would
So,
be-
yeah, I can get that for you. I need.
You don't have to
your-
have it today.
No, but I can get your rate, what I need is your rate contribution sheet, so I can get that today for you.
Okay.
And then I can.
Do we need a board vote for that, or? Okay, sounds good. Okay. Continue.
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I appreciate you jumping in. That's why he's here.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so I'm going on to the next page, basically program management. I circled Jeff Weber because he's integral part of this, he's been there a long time. Okay, the next two pages, it's basically risk management, loss control, and then claims management, i.e. services. I'm not going to spend time in here, but again, you're not going to find more comprehensive services, okay?
One thing, this is what I'll bring up, effective 1/1, thank you for reminding me. In the state of Illinois, all of your employees need harassment training, required by the state. Not just the employees, you folks here on the board. But our program, we have, online, we have approved harassment training by the state that you folks don't have to pay for it. All you have to do is get your employees either signed up, they can go online, you folks can go online and do it, or you can get everybody in a room and go through it. And it meets the requirements by the state.
That's good.
So, you guys, if you haven't, a lot of people have already received emails, marketing emails from people saying, hey, for $2,000, we'll do your harassment training. You don't have to do that, we can do that for you.
Okay.
And that was through Kyle, and he can set that up.
Yeah, IPMG has spoke up and said that they would be willing to come back in. They did it for us last time,
Mhm.
and they would be willing to come in next January and do it whenever we set it up.
And this is through this insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the nice thing then is you get a nice, you can print out a report that shows all your employees, and it basically says Jeff Weber completed training, and then when the state says,
Perfect.
give me your proof, you give them that proof.
That's what we need.
Okay, page 6, looking at the lower right-hand page numbers, page 6. Basically, I just identified who's insured. It's very broad in scope, okay, with respect to who's covered. by this policy. And the first 5 bullets outline that, okay? The lower section of that program highlights, I underline what I feel is the pertinent items for you, but I put a star next to open door legal consultation. I know you have legal representation, I'm just talking, then you can have dialogue with them together is the point. And they have that available.
You can call them directly too.
Well, and that would have been, that would have been a good conversation to have, like, for instance, when that member of the public came in and wanted to discuss the status of a claims adjustment.
Sure.
That would have been, and I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so it's good we're going through this.
Yep.
So,
it is.
real quick, all you do is you just say, I can always give you the number, but you say, I'm the attorney for Collinsville Township, member I turn P, I need to talk to someone regarding employment practices or ADA, whatever it might be.
Okay, page 7, we're getting into the policy coverages. This is a violent event response coverage. This is a new coverage that they've provided in here. So it's basically how it sounds is if there's a violent event situation that we hear about on the news all the time, there is coverage in the policy, $500,000 of coverage for that. And you can see what the coverage includes there, the bullet points. Again, if you want to get into more detail, have any questions, that's why Jeff's sitting here, we're sitting here, but I don't want to take 3 hours to go through this unless you want to. I'd be happy to do that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just real quick, just though, the 500,000 is if you're liable or not. You have up to the full 10 million you're being liable, okay?
So this is just kind of,
If something happens, we're gonna come in and we're gonna pay medical expenses, we're gonna pay counseling, funeral expenses, we're gonna come in and do some PR, we're gonna go find another building for you folks to lease, or you're gonna find it, we're gonna pay for it. But it doesn't matter if you're liable or not, you got 500,000.
okay.
i.e. again, just mark it. Page 8, coverage summary at the top, general liability. Again, general liability is third party. It's for third party bodily injury or property damage, actual or alleged. Okay? So you have an occurrence, you can see there I underline of $1 million, but then you have 10 million of excess liability on top of that. I will get to that page. So you have 11 million total per occurrence. Your aggregate is 3 million. And then down below there you can see sexual abuse liability. You do have coverage for that at 100,000. So again, if that's alleged, for example, okay? Or actual, okay? Next page, page 9, this is your auto coverage. So the auto section of the package policy. Again, you have an occurrence limit of $1 million. At the top you see the liability plus an extra 10 million, so you have 11 million of coverage. There is no deductible under that liability. You have the uninsured, underinsured at $1 million. The next part is your auto physical damage. The very back section of this has a schedule or a list of autos, okay? And their cost new amounts. So that's what you have, the total scheduled value at 1.5 million. Last year it was 1.4 million. And then you have number of vehicles. You have 19 this year. Last year you had 18. And I made these are handwritten notes just compared
Yeah,
to
that's
last
fine.
year. What's that, Darren?
No, I said that's fine, that
Okay.
they're handwritten, because I can read your writing.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be, on this deductible, is that, I've never seen a $0 deductible. So we don't pay any deductible for an incident?
Auto liability.
On auto,
You have a deductible for damage to your vehicles.
oh, and what is that deductible?
1,000.
Right here, right, it's thousands, right?
Okay.
Right down there, yeah.
Gotcha.
Physical damage to your vehicles.
Okay, and is that for each vehicle, or is that as a whole? If say vehicle A gets in an accident in January, and then vehicle C gets in an accident in February, is this 1,000 per occurrence, or?
Just like your personal auto,
Okay,
per occurrence.
Gotcha.
But keep in mind, ours is per occurrence. So if you got two knuckleheads that hit each other in township vehicles,
Right.
that's one deductible. Or one hailstorm that hits all your vehicles, that's one deductible.
good story back there.
So-
Okay.
There are knuckleheads.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
They're all knuckleheads.
Okay.
I'm a knucklehead.
All right, so again, you had 18 vehicles last year, 2 were removed, 3 were added. Kathy does a phenomenal job working in Marriott our office. As far as I'm tooting her horn because she keeps us updated as to vehicles, and that's extremely important, okay? Coverage is included, I just highlighted too, you can see this automatic liability for newly acquired vehicles. If something happens, you acquire a vehicle and we haven't received notification adding it, it's automatically included, both for the liability as well as physical damage, okay? All right, page 10, public officials liability. This comes in for you all. I mean, this is extremely important. I made a note here, this includes trustees, employees, and the township. Okay, so it's broad in scope again. Public officials liability. If based on your decisions, actions, lack of action, if there's suit brought against or you're pursued, that's what this is in place for. And that's a general overview, okay? You have $1 million of coverage each occurrence, and again, that 10 million excess is sitting over and above this. So you have 11 million total.
And the 10 million is like an umbrella, is that kind of like?
Okay, it's excess, so it's not, it's form
And that's kind of
following.
umbrella for everything.
It's sitting over the auto liability, the general liability, and the public officials liability are the three items it's sitting over.
Okay.
It's excess in addition to umbrella fills in some potential gaps in certain things, and that's not how this is set up. Okay. A lot of people use the term umbrella, Derek, honestly, like personal umbrella. They're not true umbrellas a lot of times, so you have to
Because
really.
there's gaps in there, right?
Because, yeah, it's form following. If it's auto, and you have a umbrella liability, then personally, then it would follow that auto liability.
I see.
Okay. All right, I've highlighted or underlined for you coverage under this public officials are two, employment practices liability and employee benefits liability. And then we have the retro date because it goes back if something should happen from years ago. Okay, so it picks that up. You do have a deductible under this of $2,500. And then three items down below I just identified that are inclusive: sexual harassment, discrimination, wrongful termination. So if one of these scenarios pop up, it's covered under this. Okay. Next page is cyber liability. Cyber liability was coverage a few years ago, newly added coverage, and your limit is sitting at $1 million. This is the most prevalent type of exposure. You see it on TV that's happening right now. So if there's any type of compromise of information, records, anything like that, I'll be honest with you, you went to a training session and its policy comes standard with 100,000. And she notified me and she said, we'd like to see that at $1 million. And so we increased that to $1 million. And you'll blow through, you said in another presentation we had, you'll blow through 100,000 if you have an incident like that.
Well, we had something go on. Did we file a claim for that, or?
We talked to the state and the investigators, and there was no need. It didn't breach as
Our
far as
deductible.
personal information.
Okay.
I mean, it blocked what we could do, but it didn't subtract our personal information or anything. The police department had the same thing happen. Several different
City.
entities did, the city. So,
Okay, so that's the cyber liability. And then excess liability. So this is, again, excess liability umbrella, but excess liability. And it's showing you have 10 million of coverage and it's sitting over and above your general liability. That's referred to as GL, your auto liability, and your public officials liability. Jeff, you brought this up at another meeting we had. You don't use drones, do you? Directly, indirectly, do you use drones for any reason?
Yeah.
Okay, just from a liability standpoint, okay.
Should we?
Should we?
Well, that's beyond my area.
I see it's excluded, so I just thought,
Yeah,
If you ever do, we can cover it, if you ever buy one, but
you need a separate policy for that.
it's not, we'll include it, there's a separate app and additional premium.
it's also inclusive if you hired another municipality or someone else to do that as well. Some have drones, but I'm saying if you did that and they were using that for you, that's just a consideration, just planting that seed from the outbreak. Okay, coverage summary property. There's a lot of enhancements in the property portion of your package policy. These are what's outlined with their coverage limits. The only point I'll just say to you is the building value. I wrote last year's building values were handwritten to the right. Total building values are 342, and then that's an inflation rate of 2%. You want that. Your buildings are replacement costs. They're not at market value. And that's the same thing like the homeowner's insurance. So we want to see an inflation rate that goes like this because you have materials, labor, and cleanup cost if you had a loss, significant loss, or total loss. So there's inflation is built into the policy automatically, just like any policy, okay? We don't want to see an inflation rate like this, okay, when we watch it, okay? So that's why that number is different.
Are these all of our buildings then?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct, yeah. And then all of your contents inside all of your buildings, that's all the stuff inside. Let's say, Derek, if you're gonna move out of this building.
Right.
All your stuff inside are just like a homeowner's policy, is the stuff you load up and take with you. That's your business personal property. That's to the right, okay? And that value number did not change, okay?
I guess I'll just ask, because this is kind of, could be prevalent or whatever, but, so if we were to buy a vacant lot, so that we would have $1 million of a policy under that, if when we were digging or something they would find something. Is that under this policy here?
This is gonna be your property, so if you buy a building, we automatically start covering that building.
I guess just to be clear, there was talk about buying this vacant land right over here. But the concern on the board was there could be contaminants in the soil. So I guess that they're doing some testing or something. My question is, if we were to buy that land, then would that land be under that newly acquired, I guess it says right there, constructed, so land wouldn't be in that policy?
No, I guess, I'm sorry, we'll go ahead.
Properties, building and stuff inside, basically, contents inside.
So a parking lot wouldn't qualify?
That's under your liability. That'd be under your liability side of it. So that's really what your question is your liability in this policy extending over to, and you can ask a bunch of different scenarios, like a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, parking lot is part of this building, it's liability out there. So if they acquire vacant land, they acquire the lot next door, that's gonna extend over there.
Yeah, automatically covered.
Yeah.
The question is existing fill over there is what's in question.
No, that would be pollution, and pollution is not covered under the
It's
policy.
excluded.
You have limited pollution for like road treatment and things like that, but in terms of pollution, like that type of area, you would not. So that's why you're doing the testing to make sure that it's not environmental insurance. Correct. You would have to go out and buy.
Okay.
Do your due diligence up front prior to acquiring, that would be the suggestion.
Right.
Herbicide and pesticide, I failed to mention that, but the road department does that, and so that is covered under your general liability if a third party were to allege bodily injury or property damage. So
And then just to ask, I mean, I think this is probably the best time to do that. So if they were to find something over there, okay, it was mentioned that it could be under this building as well, all right? Would then that testing be covered?
No.
So that testing wouldn't be covered, if they found something under this building?
That's pollution.
And so pollution is not
Pollution's
covered?
excluded.
Okay.
Very honestly, when we start getting into scenarios, and this is an example, it's like people will ask me, we can give general input, but very honestly, we're responsible as the agent to sell you the policy that's most comprehensive. When you get down to a claim scenario, just like homeowners, anything else, I mean, you have to turn in a claim. Like we can call the claims department, we do that all the time, but you have to turn in a claim. The adjuster has to come out and evaluate all the variables and to determine whether or not there's coverage, just like the scenario on the general liability, the slip and fall. Like I'll get asked 1 million type questions, and I can answer a good number of them and objectively say, yeah, that's covered. But there's a number where I go, we got to call claims.
Right, but no, I mean, it's good to know that pollution is a good word, is not, so that's a little scary for me, so. And is there policies that cover that?
You know what, not anymore. There used to be years ago, you could buy a policy on a vacant property just in case, but it was very expensive, and that's why they're not really doing it. Browns fields, I don't know if you guys remember those, but that, you'd buy a policy before you started digging, and it would cover up to like $1 million
Mhm.
if you thought something was there, but they don't even do that anymore. They don't even say that policy.
And to put a fine point on this, you're talking about brownfield, you're talking about EPA and abatement liability.
Mhm.
You're not talking about, we're still covered under third-party liability if our property were to make someone else. If some liability stemmed from our actual property.
A fall or something to that effect.
No.
Oh, fall, correct. Yeah.
But what I'm saying, what I guess, maybe I was kind of getting from this, if somebody says they were sick from this building,
That's, like Kai said, I'll have to research that.
Honestly, I'm calling, trying to claim it. I can't definitively say, because that's a stretch. And then.
I agree, but
So and what the adjuster's gonna do there is they're gonna look at causation.
Right.
You know, and they're gonna have to demonstrate a nexus or a connection between this illness or whatever this malady is being complained of and presence in a particular area. And having handled cases like this on the plaintiff's side, unless.
oh, I'm not saying it wouldn't be hard, but we see it
tough.
every day.
If it's
We see
related-
lawsuits, just for lawsuits. I
If
mean,
it's related to pollution, it's more likely going to be excluded.
I think the things you're bringing up, I do not want to get a call from Vicky or anybody at the township and me think, this is how I think, well, you went with this carrier because they had 5,000 lower premium, and that would have been covered with ICRMT, and all these, there's certain things that are not covered, but.
no, I'm bringing it up because it's actually a big point of what we're talking about right now. It was brought up that there could be stuff under this building, and now the EP, and so it's like, I just want to see where we're at. That's where now is the time to talk about it.
I mean, so more, I mean, again, this gets into what Kai was talking about, you know, specific ones this is one that I would have to look into. But again, in overall generalizations, if it's pollution related, it is not excluded. Again, we do have some exceptions to that rule, but if it's pollution related, like, it would be excluded. But I can look into it more for you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is the loss fund still available?
I think that it is, but it's underground storage tanks.
Yeah.
So if it's an underground storage tank, you might be able to go back there and get some of it. So, but it is
If
still
it's
there.
registered.
Yeah, I think so, right.
I think it is.
Right.
Okay. I did circle on this, your property deductible is at 1,000. We can take it up to 2,500 or 5,000 and save you a little bit of money, but I'm good with it here on the property. You don't have a ton of buildings, and that's not going to save you a lot of money to bump it up. Just circling, you do have earthquake and mine subsidence, so just make you aware of that.
God, that's a question for you. Not so much earthquake, but I guess include that in there and mine subsidence, because a lot of policies have a one-time shot. You claim it once and you can't do it again.
Well,
Is that correct?
Not with our policy, no. Some policies, yeah, there are a lot of policies like that.
You talk
For
about
that
mine.
location, they will no longer, they'll cover that one time, and they won't come back and cover it ever again. That is not us, it's still covered. That is a per occurrence limit.
Okay, Joe, thank you.
Illinois Mine Subsidence Fund it takes control of that, and in homes we see it. So basically what you have to do is you have to address it. It has to stop subsiding 100%, and that takes years to determine a lot of times.
Mhm.
Then you have to fix it, get paid what you fix. And once you fix it all, then you can add mine subsidence back on again. So that's a whole different, outside the scope of this.
Yeah, a lot of times I've seen you couldn't get mine subsidence without having earthquake.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, the earthquake goes away when the mine subsidence is discovered.
Not any longer. I mean, you can still have mine society without earthquake. No, that's changed.
What happens if an earthquake causes a mine to subside? What came first, the earthquake or the
Yeah,
mine
right.
subsidence?
Yeah.
I'm just-
That's the.
You'll never know.
That's another, what's that?
You'll never know.
I don't even want,
And
we
Kai-
don't want an earthquake. We don't
Yeah.
need one.
I think you're going to the next page, but let me just bring this up, because you'll probably see this, and say, well, Jeff told me there was no pollution coverage. If you look down, we do have pollution cleanup and removal for 100,000.
Where's this at?
This is on page 13.
That's, we have an occurrence, all right?
But this coverage is for sudden and accidental, okay?
Yeah.
So if you have a tank, a gas tank, and it burst open, and now you gotta go and clean up all that gas, that's what this coverage for.
Okay.
It's not for the stuff that's been under here forever. It's sudden and accidental coverage. Just wanna bring that up, because you'll be like, he told us there was no
Right.
coverage,
I
you got
got it.
100,000.
Right.
Okay.
If there's something under this building, the EPA is not gonna take the building down, you know, go after it, it's already over.
Right, they're gonna, unless you have to like dig, like vacant property, from what I understand, once you start digging it up, then the EPA can come in and say, you guys gotta dispose of this properly, more or less.
So I'm glad you're here. I mean, this helps having him.
Yeah.
All right, supplemental coverage on the back. Again, folks, some of this you might see, it says golf course, tees and greens. This is just, that doesn't apply to you. It's just, this is what's built into the policy. Some of these would apply, some would not. Meaning you don't do this, but anyway, it's just identifying. In the property section, there's a lot of comprehensive coverage, okay? Mobile equipment, this falls into Kathy and Larry's area. Basically, I've circled this for you, this is on page 15. So we have a schedule, a list of all mobile equipment, again, this is attached at the end. But we keep updated, and so radio communications equipment, you have 12.5. Mobile equipment, items that are greater than 10,000 per item, the total aggregate amount to the right of 1,735,000. That's meaning that's a total of your equipment, okay? And it is covered. And then mobile equipment that's less than 10,000 per item. Here's a good example. Most insurance companies, they do it as far as if you were with a standard company, it's usually like contractors insure. Their equipment, mobile equipment's less than 1,000. Anything less than 1,000 is grouped into this. Think of a pile of items less than 1,000. What they're saying is you throw that pile, so everything's less than 10,000 per item. They're designed for what you all have and what you do, okay? So it's apples and oranges.
Okay, let me ask you, Kathy, real quick. How many vehicles do we have with radios in?
Every one of them.
So like 18 of them?
All the equipment in trucks.
Everybody but the assessor's vehicle, that's the only one you guys know?
Correct. So I mean, every vehicle and every equipment has them in
So
it. Every tractor, every backhoe.
we got 12,500 for radios, so there's 18 radios. Is that enough to replace them all? If we had a tornado hit the building, or? Okay, I'm just saying, I don't know how much they cost. I know the police department just bought new ones, and they're like 6,000 for the walkie-talkies and 10,000 for the car radios.
Yeah, ours aren't that
Okay, I'm just
sophisticated.
making sure. Okay.
And your deductible under that, I did not circle, is sitting at 1,000, okay? Page 16, equipment breakdown. This is not, if you had municipalities that have water plants, it's really, but it's basically this equipment breakdown provides coverage to repair or replace damaged machinery or equipment that incurs a mechanical or electrical failure. Again, equipment in a building, not mobile equipment. It's really not applicable too much to you, because if you had a water waste treatment plant and something happened, that's where this.
One of our freezers here go down, lose all the food maybe? I don't know. That would work?
Depending on how it happened.
Yeah, if it just went, the compressor shot craps or something.
It could.
Okay.
Except that's one of those
Right.
claims.
That's one, yeah.
Basically, what this does is if it's,
$1,000 deductible,
yeah,
that's.
if it's excluded under the property, we go to equipment breakdown and try to find coverage here. Not saying it covers everything, and then we try to find coverage here. And if we're not, then we're out of luck.
If it's wear and tear, this is, if somebody does a PM thing and they just run the heck out of a piece of equipment and it just breaks down, that's not covered. So it has to be an
I'm
occurrence.
just thinking of the food in there. I mean,
The food, if it's covered by equipment breakdown, then the spoilage, usually spoilage damage is included.
Okay.
So all that food would be covered if it's a covered loss under equipment.
I think some of the freezers have over $1,000.
Yeah. So we pay the freezer and the spoilage if it's covered.
Honestly, if your estimate came out to $1,100 or $1,200 on everything, you'd be like, so.
You gotta weigh it.
Okay, page 17, crime coverage. Basically, what is crime coverage? And you can see the coverages identified below. And basically, this is theft of money, items like that, embezzlement. So you have blanket employee dishonesty. You can see the limit over there is $500,000. So if an employee embezzles money, Terry has a separate bonds, I'll get to that in a second. But loss inside premises, if there's money, so securities value, generally money. Loss outside of premises, meaning if money's being taken to the bank, for example. You can see the other items, and this is identified under crime coverage. You do have 1,000 deductible, okay? Now Terry has Terry's bonded. Again, bond, same thing. Crime and bond are essentially in the same sandbox, okay? But he's required to be bonded at a much higher level than $500,000. So we have township roads and bridges at 3.8 million, and then within the township, the bond is 2.5 million. Okay?
I could never quite understand that. If you could briefly explain exactly that, because the supervisors and townships have to have a bond. How does that, what is that?
Basically, what happens is the bond company issues the bond. They underwrite the bond. So it's kind of like insurance.
Right.
So what happens is I'm just using basic terminology. Terry takes 1.2 million. Bond company then pays the 1.2 million, but then they have to be reimbursed on the 1.2 million. Okay?
Okay, so there has to be another.
Yeah, so they'll underwrite bonds. A lot of times they get frustrated because when somebody wants a bond, they don't understand. They're like, well, we just need a bond for this. And the bond company underwrites that to make sure there's assets available. Then in the event they have to pay out on that bond, then there's money that they can recoup.
I see. And does other municipalities have to do this, or is this kind of just?
I defer to the municipalities and statutes. I don't really get into the details with that.
It's a statutory requirement.
But yes.
Like, does the mayor have to have a bond too?
Yeah.
The finance director.
The city manager, I guess,
Right.
maybe, or the finance director.
Finance director, because in the township government, the supervisor is the treasurer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nope, he's right. There's statutes for every public entity.
Yeah.
Like their bonds.
So, and then when you go above $500,000, that's when you have to have individual bonds. It falls in the crime family.
So then, yeah, you're in the, that's covered, that's all through you
Yeah,
guys.
he kind of got a separate policy for those higher limits.
Okay.
Honestly, it's very tough to secure those bonds. We called you guys up and they said, we've got that, we have travelers, but they have access to the higher type bonds. So we wrote those bonds through them.
Okay.
So we wrote them, but they assisted us with that, with those
Okay.
higher bonds. So that's good, again, to have them as a resource. Okay, 18, work comp. This one I'm gonna spend a little bit more time, folks. So 18 and 19. Your workers' compensation statutory limits, what by that saying, there's no specific limit. There's employee injury, there's medical for that individual, plus wages, or compensation if you will, plus disability, if any, like a permanent total or permanent partial, okay? So employer's liability, that's your 2.5 million, and basically if an employee deems an employer is negligent, pursues the employer rather than accept compensation. So it's basically outside the scope of the workers' compensation, and there's deemed negligence on your part or alleged, then that's where the 2.5 million comes in, okay? Just as I circled this, is volunteers are covered under this, okay? Let's get to page 18. This is, okay.
19, you mean?
Thanks, yeah, 19, thank you. All right, so here's how everything's rated and the cost. So the first, you have codes. You see your 4 codes, and then based on every employee, and they get audited every year, you're audited every year, and then the rates, and then the premium, and you can see in the lower right-hand corner what your premium is for the renewal period, 67,602. Now, hand wrote next to it, your premium last year was 81,118, okay? So it's lower this year, but there's adjustment factors in the second box. That's what I'm gonna go through there, okay? And again, it's based on, I'm gonna show you, is your claims frequency, meaning number of claims, and severity for a time period. So gross annual premium, you can see it's taken from the top, and I wrote off to the side. Those are last year's numbers off to the side. 67,602 this year, 81,118 last year. Your increased limit multiplier, because you have higher limits of employer's liability at 2.5 million, you multiply that gross premium times 1.02, so they're garnering a little more premium from you for those higher employer's liability limits at 2.5 million. Standard is $1 million, is that correct, on your policy? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're at 2.5. Minimum premium, it doesn't apply in your case, so you can see the premiums are the same at that premium just above there. Experience modifier, 1.19, this is it right here. So basically, in the nutshell, you're 19% higher than your peers in your industry right now, okay, on your work comp claims, your frequency and severity.
So we had claims last year.
Okay, what this takes into account is, this does not take into account prior year. So this is not 18 through 19. This is three years prior of what they're looking at for this rate. So it's 12/1 of 15 through 16, 16 through 17, and 17 of 18. So they're looking back for this. And you're compared to everybody. This is not something that we do. It's
Right.
something that you're compared to your peers. And if you're better than your peers for those 3 years, that 3-year period, then you're gonna, your rate, look at your rate next to it the prior year.
But that kind of goes to his question. If the prior year was 0.82 and this last year was 1.19, then we had to have some claims.
Yeah, you had a 2,700 a year fall off, 2,000 a year fell off, and a 75,000 a year come off.
You're talking at the road district, I mean, I'm sure it's where most of the.
Okay, so there was some workman's comp,
Oh, yeah.
75,000.
75,000 lost year came on, and a 2,700 year came off.
Yeah,
That's
so,
what
I see.
So bottom line is, it's,
It fluctuates.
it does, so the 12/1 of 14 through 15 fell off, and then 12/1 of 15 all the way up to 18 came on, and there were a few claims of 17 and 18, okay?
Was that one incident or?
There's a few.
Okay.
There's a few. There were 3 in particular during that 3-year time period that were, so you have frequency and severity. Severity is how much is paid out. How much is paid out and how much is in reserve. Frequency is your number of claims. And really it's your severity on a few claims that really impacted this modifier rate. So you went from 0.82, so you were getting a 20% discount. So look at your minimum premium. Do you see that right across from your minimum premium, handwritten, $82,741 last year? Do you see that?
Minimum premium. Say it again, 82,000 you said?
Yeah, 741,
Yes.
it's handwritten. So last year, they took that number times 0.82,
Right.
and that's how you got the 67,847 I handwrote over to the right. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So you got an 18% discount
Right.
on your work comp because you were 18% better than your peers in your industry.
Right.
Well,
This year, we're 19% worse.
We're
There you
20,
go.
yeah, I mean, so this has nothing to do with you guys, but perhaps maybe an executive session sometime, I'd like to know what happened. So if there are some things that we can do better as a township, that we can address that, because 20% is 20%.
So that's, as a township board and township trustee, we really can't address or monitor or regulate the day-to-day functions of the road and bridge, how they do things. We are authorized to pay bills. In terms of telling Mr. Tricano how to run his operation, we can't do that.
I see what you're saying. I would just like to know what it was, but if it was just a couple incidents, but 20% that's a 40% almost turnaround, and that's what affects the
that's where you
13, right, that's the increase right there.
Yeah, so that's it. When you include the numbers on the first page, that's what bumped up your work comp premium.
And you had a 4% payroll increase. Your payrolls went up 4%,
Right.
which also.
And you mentioned from 1 million to 2.5 million, our coverage went up.
Now, Paige, you get this every year, Derek, that 1.02 multiplier, because you've had 2.5 million employers liability since day one.
So it's always been.
It's always been.
Okay, gotcha. I just didn't know if we could make it a little less, but if that's what you think that it's good,
I
then.
wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I definitely wouldn't do that.
Yep, okay.
Okay. All right, and I circled for you too, the 2 numbers below, scheduled modifier and premium discount. They're basically giving you a discount still. They had this last year, and they're still giving you a 35% discount. Scheduled modifier is 0.75. What that means is they're multiplying the premium times 0.75, or giving you a 25% discount. And you see below, I circled for you too, it's 10% in addition to that. So their pricing is the point. They're giving you pricing, and they kept this on there this year, even though the claims, they're keeping their pencil sharp.
And why are they giving us that 25% discount?
Because is pricing, I'm coming back to them and asking them for pricing concessions based on how long they've had the business.
Okay.
Okay? honestly, I
And
had
then
more.
you just say, this is just a odd year, or whatever, this dropped off, this came on,
Yeah.
and negotiated.
We're actually giving you 5% more credit this year than last year to help make up for the mod increase. And, so we're trying to help you out
Yeah.
there. We brought some rates down.
We
But-
appreciate it.
But we look at 5 years too.
Mhm.
We do look at 5 years of losses. So yeah, you got 3 years that aren't so good, but you also got 2 years that are pretty good.
Mhm.
So that's why I was able, and Kai was able to talk me into
Right.
giving you more credit.
Good.
Because you guys overall have, I mean, you have a few bad years, but you also have a couple good years.
A candid input for you, I was talking with him, I'm pretty transparent on stuff. They've been on this a long time, and they look at money in, money out. What have they paid out in claims, and about how much they're getting in premium.
Mhm.
And from a bid standpoint, I think periodically it's warranted to go out for a bid, but he and I were talking, I can't leverage pricing, I can push on him, we've had it this many years. If they think they're gonna lose the business and lose it every year, they're like, well, we potentially will not be on this to recoup our cost. So they're not potentially willing to give it
I see what
good
you're
at pricing.
saying. I
And so
see.
he's the one that volunteered to me, he's like, I'm not deterring you from getting a bid, that's not it. I think periodically it's warranted, but if they're potentially know they're gonna lose this
Right.
every year, they're like, okay, pricing, we don't wanna lose our short, so maybe we're not gonna offer the pricing that we could if we knew we were gonna stay on this.
Understand.
So I'm being very
Yeah,
honest.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's your detail right there. So last year, your premium was 48,904. This year, your premium, very bottom, is 55,318. Next page, we're pretty much finished, folks, but next page is just a summary of premiums. Again, I summarized that for you on the first page. And then, okay, and then just starting at page 23, it's the schedule of autos. Again, Kathy does a great job keeping Mary apprised of this. And the 2 items at the bottom, the 2019 Ford F-350 International 7400 for the added items. And then page 24 is the property schedule with each location, the building value, and the BPP, that's the contents inside. So you can see that on page 24. And then it ends over on page 25. Darby Lane is a NA on there, okay? And the building values already went up 2% from prior year, okay? Again, that's building values. Page 27 is your inland marine, that's all your mobile equipment. And then you can see at the top it says mobile equipment greater than or equal to 10,000 per item. So that is all your big ticket items that Larry has. And Kathy keeps us apprised of that. And your deductibles at 1,000. And when you go over to the last page, or page 28, it's a continuation of those big ticket items over 10,000, and then a summary of items under 10,000. But actually, what you have in there under 10,000, if you have a bunch of mowers and trimmers and things that were stolen, that would fall under that items less than 10,000. You don't have to be listed on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. Like, for example, you got the senior center listed as 1.745 million.
Okay.
For example, say a tornado hits this building, and we find out it costs $2 million to rebuild it. Are we only covered for 1.745, or are we covered for replacement costs?
So, replacement cost. If you remember when we've done 3 property appraisals for you folks at no additional cost to you.
Okay.
Last time we did it, I think it might have went up, and then we had a discussion, I believe I was out here. But anyway, since you accepted the property appraisal limits, then you have what we call true blanket. So if you have that building, this building at 1.2, but it really costs 2 million, you have up to the full 4 million to replace this building.
Okay.
Okay. That's one of the
I don't
advantages.
like giving you what ifs, but
No,
I
no,
want to make
absolutely.
sure our cover, make sure these numbers, you did the appraisals, but I want to make sure we don't have any due diligence here
Yeah.
to make sure these numbers are accurate, because you did the appraisals.
Since we did the appraisals by a third party, that we're confident that, to be honest, we're confident that they are pretty accurate,
Okay.
so we gave you a full blanket limit then.
All right, that's my only question.
I'm probably gonna get strangled for asking this question, but I'm willing to take the risk. So there, we started with this discussion about à la carte coverage. And let's say, for instance, there is some enterprising agent or someone who goes through our assets and can figure out a bunch of à la carte coverages for the township. And it turns out that aggregate of premiums is lower than what you're charging. I'm not saying it's going to happen. We just assume this for this hypothesis. And we say, oh man, that's a good deal. We should do that. Is it possible for us to? No, I'm not saying we're going to do this, but I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. I'm trying to just float this out for everybody. So let's say we decide to do that. Can we get a prorated refund on our premium and then go to the new provider?
No, it's an annual pay.
Okay.
So once 12/1, once you sign on, you owe that premium for the year.
Okay,
You're on for the
that's
year.
okay.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I didn't even think about that, but.
In general, on business insurance, because of work comp audits, any business insurance, I wait till their annual renewal. When I go out, if I'm talking to somebody and they're like, well, give me a bid, or I talk to them and I ask somebody, I'm like, well, when's your renewal? And then I'll call them back like 60 days, 90 days out, I won't.
But I appreciate that question because for like just me, if I cancel my insurance and go to a different one, then I get the money back. And so that makes sense why you wouldn't. And that also makes sense of why, because I asked, doesn't it just go into the next, doesn't it just renew December the 1st? And that's why it makes sense that it doesn't, because it's a year-long thing. So that was a really, I understand it better.
Home and auto, we do that all the time. Somebody wants to transition midterm because they get a full refund from whoever they're leaving. Our company do the same thing. Business insurance is a different animal.
Gotcha.
And it's company specific.
Right.
So that's why I always just wait till.
I appreciate this. It's well laid out. It's easy to understand.
Thanks for answering all our questions, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm glad we're having the discussions more informal, but I really value your business. We work hard every year. I'm tooting their horn because Vicki and Kathy do a great job of helping us, because we have a lot of insureds that if they're not holding up their end of the bargain, we have an exposure because they're not keeping us apprised of things, changes in vehicles, changes in that. So it helps us a hell of a lot that they're doing what they're doing. There's constant communication weekly between the two. And I hope I answered your concerns on the markets. If I had a better market, I'm not beholden to them. If I had a better market and I could offer you that, I would evaluate that market for you. So, and I honestly probably could garner more commission money by going out to another market. I'm being very candid. I'm not knocking you on that.
Well, you're from Council Township, you're a taxpayer too, so you want the best.
I'm a taxpayer in the township, so
Right.
I just, but this is my reputation, and I'm just not gonna offer you something less. So.
And I'll just add on there, I mean, and that's the advantage, that's why we go through local agents.
Right.
Because, Kai works for you folks. I work for ICRMT, and even though Kai and I get along and we agree 99% of the time, he's still the one that's looking out for your best interest. So if he sees ICRMT service start to slip or premiums going up more than what they should without a legitimate reason why, then he's the one that can go out and try to find you something better. But we value that local agent because he knows the community and he's doing a lot of work looking out for your best interests.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract with the Kai Redmond's agency for $96,935 for insurance for the next 12 months.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, roll call.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Stack?
Yes.
Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins?
Yes.
Supervisor Allen?
Aye. Any more questions? Anything?
Thank you for your
Motion
business.
to
Thank you.
adjourn.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining it all.
Very good. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, thank you.
Aye. Second.
Anybody?
Yeah. Just write it out.
Roll call.
Terry, I've got a piece of paper I need you to sign.
Okay.